Nice to see everyone. So, for those of you who know me, you know I'm Joette Calabrese. I'm a homeopath, a practicing homeopath for, I don't know, close to 34 years, something like that. I don't really put it all together like that, but and I teach homeopathy. I teach you homeopathy every Monday night, and so I love being your teacher. It is a great honor for me to be doing this with folks. And I also want to say that immodestly, I have to say, I think that what I offer you here on Facebook Live every Monday night for over 2 years now, and in my podcast, so please go to my site and listen to the podcasts under joettecalabrese.com and listen to the last few, especially, listen to all of them, but especially the last few. It's pretty good ones. Every single week, I also, for 13 years, I've been producing my blog, and I believe that it may be the most value-packed something for everyone assembled in one place. This is your place for homeopathy answers, folks, and for your friends and relatives as well. No gobbledygook, no esoteric, no recherche, elusive information on what remedy to use, but actual, down to business, the real medicine, precise information for specific conditions with a tried and true formula that I use with potency, name of remedy, potency, and frequency. And I don't know anyone else who does this in homeopathy. But if you do, I want you to let me know, because I want to shake their hand and I want to join forces, because it's important that families get this information the most easy way possible. We do not want this to be elusive, elite. That is not what practical homeopathy is about. I want you to know the condition, the name of the remedy, the potency, and the frequency. Now, I'm not going to guarantee it's going to work every time, but according to the esteemed Doctors Banerjee, in 80 to 85% of the time, the first protocol will work for those people who suffer from that particular condition. How about those numbers? How about those numbers? 80 to 85% of those who suffer from that particular condition, whatever condition it is that we're talking about, they will be resolved with the first protocol. Now, if that doesn't work, often there's a second protocol, and then we use that, and that would cover about 10 to 15% that remain untouched by the first protocol. And so I often give you that as well. Sometimes there's a third protocol. And if that's there, it means is that last few percentages, maybe 5%, in which those people who were not touched by protocol 1 or protocol 2 will be touched by protocol 3. Now, I don't go into this in great depth on my podcasts or my Facebook Lives and in my blog, because it's a little more complex than what I'm saying, but I do want to get you to be comfortable knowing this, okay? This is important stuff. And it's something that I go in great depth in my courses, but I urge you to do this. Start here, free. Start with free. And if I can turn you on to enough information that is very useful for your family, then you might join a study group, as many of my Joette's Mighty members have done, and many of you on Facebook as well. Join a Gateway to Homeopathy study group. And then after you finish the first one, go to the second one, and you'll be meeting people from all over the world, most often from the US and, well, North America, because Canada too. But then once you've gone through that, consider joining a course that touches your life. Even if you never want to go any further than just the study group, you will have a source of friends and resources that you never thought imaginable. You will meet people by meeting on Zoom, or if you bring in your own friends locally and you meet in your living room or your church basement or something like that, you will find that these friends will be lifelong friends, because it is, the way to bring people together is to learn how to help each other. That's what this is all about, learning how to help each other. And if you never go any further than just Joette's Mighty members, or Facebook Live, that's free, or my podcasts, which are free, or the blog, which is free. If you do just that, I absolutely guarantee that in a year from now, after putting some effort into this, and perhaps even much sooner than that, you will look back and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe how far I have come. Look how many doctor's appointments I've been able to avoid. Look how much fear I've been able to avoid. Look at the angst that is no longer a part of my life. That's what we're looking for. Freedom, folks. This is all about freedom. In case you haven't noticed in the last 14 months, freedom is the key word. And so I want you to know that from the very beginning, when all of this gobbledygook started 14 months ago, 15 months ago, that my concern was to find out what the symptoms were of the condition so that I could give you the names of the medicines that I thought would be most useful. But as time went on, I realized we've all realized a lot of things, haven't we? Things are all coming out now. I hope you're going to places that I go to so that you can learn from citizen journalists, not corporate journalists. Oh, nay, nay. Citizen journalists, people who do not have a stake financially in getting this information out, but have a passion for learning it, connecting the dots and putting all these people together and reading papers from around the world that are in English or in other languages that they may know. So I urge you to check out Amazing Polly. Check it out, Amazing Polly. Check out Mel, the letter K, Mel K. You'll find them on BitChute most often. And well, there are a number of them. I'm trying to think. Rumble is another. So I urge you to do your homework. Turn off the television. Turn it off. Turn off the radio. Do not get your information from those sources. It is antithetical to what we are doing here. I don't know if you realize that. Some people have not come to that. Some people think that homeopathy can synthesize with conventional thought, conventional medicine, conventional information that we get from the government, from the pharmaceutical industry. I'm sorry, very little that really meshes. I'd like it to mesh better, but I'm going to be honest here, it really doesn't. In order for you to be here, you have to pretty much step outside of the box. And I know that you already have, or you wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't be here. This kind of thinking takes guts, spunk, and moxie. It takes more research, it takes more effort, it takes more time. But you will reap the benefits beyond your wildest dreams. So let's get to the business at hand, and that's TikTok, ticks. So, but what I'm saying to you seamlessly moves into this next subject, and that is relax. No worries. Do ticks carry disease? Yes. Is there danger going into the forest? Is there danger getting into a car? Is there a danger in eating chicken at a restaurant? Is there danger living in your home where you have a fireplace going? We could keep going with this. So I want to remind you that making people freak, making people panic and worry is a great way to sell. It's not my shtick. I don't want to freak you out. I want to do the exact opposite. Now, I know that in marketing, that's not the smart way to do it, but I'm not there. My way of thinking is to give you information so that you don't panic. Because if you panic, or if we panic, because I include myself as well, if we panic, we lose our heads. And then after we've panicked over and over and over and over again, then when the savior comes, the government, big industry, big tech, big pharma come in and say, don't worry, we've got the answer, then you will be willing to dive right into. You'd be willing to fold up and allow them to take over. And I'm telling you, wherever you have an opening in your thinking, there's that little space where you're not so sure because you haven't done your homework on it yet, I guarantee one of those entities will come in and fill it in, and it will infiltrate your thinking. So let's start with the deer tick. I want you to, if this is of interest to you, I would urge you to go to my podcast. There's a podcast, I've got them here written in front of me so that I can take a look. Protocol for Lyme using homeopathy. Just all you do is Joette Calabrese, Protocol for Lyme using homeopathy. Or you can simply go to joettecalabrese.com/blog, Protocol, Lyme disease using homeopathy. And I tell you straight out, if there is a tick on the skin, what I have always done through the years for myself, my children, my husband, our dogs, our goats, what else? Neighbors, neighbors down the street, cows, when we used to live in the country, we always start with Ledum. Ledum pilastra, Ledum, Ledum 200. And that's upon finding the tick. Immediately, that's the first thing you do. Now, how often do you use it? Now, I've written a couple different ways, and the reason I do that, I know it sounds inconsistent, but I do it a few different ways. Sometimes I say take it every 3 hours. Sometimes I say take it twice a day. Sometimes I might say take it every 6 hours, but I'm going to tell you that it's anywhere in there. If you are freaking, and you shouldn't, if you are freaking, then take it every 3 hours, if that's what makes you comfortable. Take it every 6 hours, if that's what makes you comfortable. I don't worry, I didn't. I no longer live in an area where there are ticks readily found. So I don't think about it so much for myself and my family any longer. But when I did, and we lived in a deer-infested, if you could call deer infesting, a tick-infested because of the deer. The deer, we lived on the top of a hill, not quite to the apex, and the deer would come over the hill. We had a pond. They would come and get a little lick from our pond. Then they would go through, come down our property, right near our house, just mow down my hostas. I could never keep tulips. They ate them all down, and we used to see them in droves, lots and lots of deer. And exactly where they traveled on our property is exactly where my children and our dogs would travel as well. So we got ticks, lots of them. So I always started with Ledum 200C. In the beginning, I would use it more frequently. After a while, I got more comfortable. Why? Because I had experience. The more experience you have, the less fret you have, the more you see that nothing's happening because you've used your medicines or because nothing was going to happen anyway. Then the more comfort you gain, and you will use it less frequently. And so modestly, you can easily say Ledum pilastra 200C twice a day is perfectly fine. You can use it for a week, 10 days. Now let's say a second tick comes in. You got the first tick on a Saturday, and normally would use it about a week to 10 days, something like that. And on Wednesday, before you've even gotten to finishing it, now the child or the dog or whomever gets another tick. Do you start all over again? No. I do not believe you should start all over again, because you could keep going like this all summer. Because you've already got Ledum going. And actually, Ledum would be a wonderful prophylactic. I do not believe in using Ledum as a prophylactic unless it's an extraordinarily unusual situation, because I think that you can, if it's unnecessary, if the medicine is superfluous, because there is no real concern with the insect bite, then you could prove it. You could prove Ledum pilastra. Not dangerous, no worries. Proving a medicine is not a big deal. I know people freak out about that as well. Do not, just relax, don't worry. The only problem with proving is that you won't really know, is this the disease, or is this are the condition moving along and you didn't get it, that you didn't do it properly, which of course everyone in the beginning thinks that, or is this approving? So Ledum 200. Now, the first time I wrote about this, I talked about Aurum arsenicum. And I think that's a great medicine. Aurum, A-U-R-U-M, arsenicum, 200C. Now, the problem with the Aurum arsenicum is it's pretty hard to get these days. When I wrote that a few years back, it was easier to find. And then I'm going to direct that you also go to Another article that I wrote, chronic Lyme disease. Are you sure about that? That's very important because most people, when they talk about Lyme these days, is the fear that the Lyme disease is, that it was, they had the tick years ago, or maybe they never saw a tick. Now they have a blood test and it shows Lyme. Look, I'm not a pathologist. I'm not even a medical doctor. But I'm going to tell you that in my experience, what I see with Lyme, chronic Lyme, is that it's a host or it's concomitant with other conditions. Cytomegalovirus maybe, or I'm trying to think of some others that usually come in, Borrelia, of course, but it'll come to me. There are others that come along, Epstein-Barr, etc. And at that point, now I consider that chronic Lyme different than the original potential. Because if you get a tick today, what you're using for that tick that you've gotten today is going to be the Lyme palastra, and you're going to be using that really pretty much as a prophylactic because you don't have a disease yet. You don't know whether or not that tick was bearing a microorganism that could be of harm. So that's really more of a prophylactic. If we talk about long-term chronic Lyme, now we're talking about something else because now the person has symptoms. So now what do we do? I believe many of you know what to do. And so I'm going to see what you say, and then we'll get back to it because I'm going to tell you about another article that I've written. Lyme, 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 just making sure you know what to do. And that too is, if you look up that title, Lyme, no, it's not Limes, by the way, it's Lyme, L-Y-M-E, named after Lyme, Connecticut. The town of Lyme, Connecticut was when it was first, I don't know if it was first discovered, but it was first made note of. My father-in-law actually got Lyme. He lived in Connecticut, and that was a good 40 years ago that happened. And they gave him antibiotics, which I think did him no good. I think it caused a lot of gut problems in him. That's my assessment of it. I can't say for sure. Does it mean that he would have been sicker with Lyme? Well, if he had had homeopathy, and in those days, I didn't even know about homeopathy. So it leaves us to wish that we all had started this when we were 12 years old. So at any rate, that again, Lyme 200 for bites and puncture wounds of any kind. Puncture wounds, that's what a tick is, right? It gets under your skin and it makes a puncture and it buries its head into the skin. Disgusting, isn't it? Oh, gross. All right. Then I have a podcast number 29, Lyme, question and answers. Again, I talk about Lyme palastra first, straight away. And then I also talk about symphytum with Rhus tox for joint pains. Okay, I'm going to leave that open there because I want to see what kind of answers I'm going to get. Now, one other remedy that I like to use lately instead of the Aurum arsenicum is Hypericum perforatum 200C, mixed with, oh yes, God forbid, polypharmacy, mixed with Arsenicum album 200, because I find that is to easily replaces Aurum arsenicum. So by mixing Hypericum perforatum 200 and Arsenicum album 200. Now, how is it mixed? If you happen to be a student or a client of mine, you can get it from OHM. If you are not, then you're going to buy Hypericum 200 by itself and Arsenicum by itself, and you're going to put the Hypericum in your mouth, and before you really even start sucking on that one, you're going to put the Arsenicum in your mouth, and they're going to mix together in your mouth. And you're going to use that twice daily. Alrighty, in case you're very concerned, I don't actually think that we need to go that far. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think we need to go that far because I believe that Lyme is going to make all the difference in the world. It has never, let me put it to you this way, it has never failed me, ever, never failed me. Many, many times have I seen, let me get back to where I was, and I think I have excuse me for a second. I've lost my way. Okay, we got to go back up to here. Okay, Vimeo again already, because I want to see your answers. I want to see what you think we should do if someone has a problem with chronic Lyme, okay? And what do you use for mosquitoes? Well, we can still, if the mosquito bites are there, then I would still use Lyme. In order as a repellent, I would use, to be honest, I would use a regular, I would use an essential oil repellent for mosquitoes. Some people like to use Staphysagria. I don't have any experience with that. Even though my family was always getting bit by mosquitoes, we just used essential oils. I would mix them together, spray their bodies if they were going to be in a lot of mosquitoes, and call it, and Bob's your uncle. Yes, you use the symptoms, Pat says. Yes. If there's a chronic Lyme condition, we are going to use, she actually said, treat the symptoms, but I know what she means. She really means we don't treat symptoms, we actually use the symptoms. I know that's what she meant. We're going to use the symptoms to treat the whole condition. So if somebody has chronic Lyme, what do they have? They have joint pain, right? Often there's joint pain. And that's why I was about to tell you, when you go back and look at these podcasts and these articles that I've written, you're going to see Symphytum 200 of Brustox 30, for example, because those two medicines, Symphytum, Symphytum, Symphytum 200, taken along with Brustox 30, is a great medicine for joint pain. So, and that is one of the main conditions related to chronic Lyme. But what if it's not Lyme? What if you're just assuming it's Lyme because the blood lab showed it, but it turns out the real reason is someone's gone through menopause and it's the hormones that are causing joint pain, or it's the wheat that the person's eating that's causing joint pain, or it's the weather change that's causing joint pain. No matter, right? No matter. We still use the same medicine that presents in joint pain, means Symphytum 200 with Brustox. Now, there are others that we can use, but that's one of the mainstays. Address the symptoms presented with appropriate homeopathic remedy. Thank you very much, Monica. Absolutely. So if there's fatigue, you bet. We're going to use a medicine that's for chronic fatigue. Brain fog, we're going to use medicine that's specific for brain fog. You see where we're going with this? What if that brain fog isn't from chronic Lyme? We're making the assumption. Not we, because I don't make those assumptions. I don't diagnose. But more often than not, these diagnostics are coming from clinical ecologists, functional MDs, chiropractors, naturopaths, etc. And when they come up with this information, we are going to say thank you very much, but instead we're going to use this method. We are going to use what is presenting instead of why it may have shown up. Because again, what if it is not from Lyme? And we're making that assumption based on a blood lab. What if it's from a disease, microorganism that we haven't even discovered yet? Now what? We've gone through all of this and figured out what to use only for Lyme. That's not the way homeopathy works. We are going to use the symptoms. Is this not elegant? Is this not simple? It's gorgeous. So let's see what everybody else is saying. A friend took Staphysagria 200 twice within a week or 10 days and reported that mosquitoes are staying away. Yes, I know, Lisa, thank you for sharing that. People have reported that to me. I've not had any experience with it, but it's definitely worth a try. Not for just garden variety amount of mosquitoes. I'm thinking more about people who are camping, or they're hunters, or they're gardeners, and the mosquitoes are really maddening. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. What did I just say to you? Okay, this is, it just keeps flipping. Can't chronic fatigue be caused by different things? You bet. I know homeopathy goes by symptoms, but how can one remedy treat something that is caused by different things? Because that's the way homeopathy works. I'm so glad you asked that, Elisa, because it doesn't matter what it is. Understand? If you have a stomach ache, how do you know if it's from the food you ate yesterday or from the food you ate 2 weeks ago, because it could still happen? How do you know it's not from a cold that you've got? What if it's from anxiety? What if it's because the menses is forthcoming? Doesn't matter. The stomach aches. How does the stomach ache? Oh, it's bloated. Oh, got it. It's bloated and painful. Okay, then we use lycopodium regardless. You see how simple this is? See how simple we make this? Instead of saying, oh, look, shiny object. Oh, another shiny. Oh, it could be this. Oh, it could be that. Like a magpie. We could go in a million different directions, but if we know the symptoms, then we can use the symptoms to determine which homeopathic medicine is correct. Okay. All righty. Let's see. Yes, it is amazing medicine. You're absolutely right. I'm looking at Facebook Live. Okay. How do we watch this through Mighty Members? I think you just, how do they watch it through Mighty Members? Should they just go to the Mighty Members site, and there it is. It should be right there. Yeah. And you'll be able to watch it again and then, whether it's Facebook Live or Mighty Members. Yes. What if using the joint, the joint makes the pain worse? Great question, Glenn. I'm really glad you asked that question. If when you use a homeopathic medicine and it makes things worse, stop. It does not mean that things are going to get better. That's classical homeopathy. This is practical homeopathy. The difference is classical, you're only using the medicine once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times in a 24-hour period so that you're giving a split dose. We don't do it that way. We use these medicines often twice daily, depending on the protocol, because remember, I'm giving you the formula, I'm giving you the recipe, okay? So if it's twice a day, you're going to use it twice a day. If it's every 3 days, you're going to use it every 3 days. If the formula says use it once every 7 days, that's the way you're going to do it. So you're not going to see an aggravation getting worse before you get better with this method, because just when you're about to get worse, you're taking the medicine again and calms it down. All righty. Thanks for posting the links. Great. I'm glad you did that. I think that must have been Nathalie, I call her. Pharmacist said to use Roostox for the aches and pains. It worked. I wish I'd learned about homeopathy then. You bet. Absolutely. A pharmacist told you. That's wonderful. And let's see what else we've got. I've used Mozi-Q. Yes. Mozi-Q, M-O-Z-I, and then the letter Q. Mozi-Q, combination remedy containing Staphylococcus aureus for mosquito bites, and it never fails. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Rachna. I like that medicine too. It has not been readily available for a long time, and now suddenly I'm seeing it. So I'm assuming you can get it, you know, in most places. So check that out, folks. Mozi-Q, it's a great medicine. Yes. My daughter practically needs a blood transfusion for mosquito bites every summer, so this is really helpful. I'm glad to hear that. Years ago, in '88, I had a ring rash on the inside of the left arm. Then I developed it. A lot of pains and fatigue. The pharmacist who knew about homeopathy. Oh, that must have been the pharmacist that said to use Roostox. Yep. So this is Diane from Baltimore. Years ago, in 1988, I had a ring rash on the inside of my left arm. Then I developed a lot of pains and fatigue. The pharmacist who knew homeopathy said to use Roostox. Roostox, often, with that Symphytum 200 with Roostox 30, or just plain old Roostox, there are a couple different ways that you can utilize it. That medicine is so wonderful that it also helps with the chronic fatigue. A lot of times people describe to me, I've got aches in my back, aches and pains up and down my spine, across the scapula and across my shoulders and down my arms, and the fatigue is horrible, and I feel tired in my back. I've heard that many times. If you use these medicines this way, such as Symphytum 200 mixed with Roostox 30, or just even plain Roostox by itself sometimes, often the fatigue just melts away. Aren't you happy you came tonight? Share this with your friends. Share this with your neighbors. Please, folks, everyone needs to know how to use this stuff so that we do not succumb to other people's notions of how we should be treating ourselves and our families. This is very, very important information. This is important. All of the things that I give you, I believe, are important. I hope that you consider them important too. I imagine that you do, or you wouldn't be here tonight. Take advantage of this. Please take advantage of the information that I give you. And so with that, I say, God bless all of you. Mwah. Have a great week.